Welcome to Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, the creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. For the past 9 years, I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I started raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott. For the past 9 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself, and I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned on this journey. As the Alternative Dog Moms, we're bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and sharing the tips, tricks, and resources we learn along the way. Now, let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
So I'm very excited. There's a lot going on. It's been a week over here, but we are here today with our guest, Ruth Findlay, the founder of OHM, and it's also Only Healing Minerals. So I love how there's that acronym going on there too. So hello, Ruth.
Hi, guys. Thank y'all so much for having me today. I'm excited to share what I do.
Yes, this is a totally new thing to me, and I'm so excited to learn about it and to share it with our listeners. So, you are in the space of healing minerals, and this was fascinating when I was reading about how it's this mix of like ancient wisdom with like a new nanoparticle technology. And I'm just curious how you learned about this and kind of what led you to starting your company.
Well, I'll do the short version. I had been very sick and was seeing a practitioner that was getting me well, but I was not getting healthy. I didn't feel great. And my husband and I were traveling in Germany with some friends, and we stopped at a mineral bath. And we walked through this wading pool of these mineral water, and I thought, that's it. I found my thing. And so we went back and stayed the night and got in full body, etc. So I chased minerals as much as I could. We went back a couple times to Germany, and we'd gone to Saratoga Springs, which is in upstate New York. And we ended up going so much, I thought, this is not sustainable. But I was feeling so wonderful that one morning I woke up and I thought, you know what? I have a master's in geochemistry. I can just make these minerals and match it up to the mineral water that I'm enjoying, which was not an easy feat, but I had a mission and it was fine. And so I began grinding soft minerals, which are, if you think of like a talc as a soft rock or something like that as soft. And then there's harder rocks, which were not going to be able to be used. But I found some that were soft and bought a coffee bean grinder and started grinding rocks with a coffee bean grinder and started making baths, mixing them. And then I shared them with my practitioner in Oregon, who's actually German, and he's a Chinese practitioner. And he fell in love with them because it was his thing. He's German, and he had done baths all of his life. So we shared and compared and contrasted what I was doing, and I just dove in to the idea of this is the way to get minerals into people or pets, which was soon afterwards, I started using it on my pugs, which I have 4. And then we decided that it could get a little bit better. And so I bought an enormous grinding machine so I could do a full spectrum of all minerals. So there was no bar, I could do anything. And so I created this modality. And so you can use it in bath water. You can put it in aloe gel and float it, suspend it and put it on the skin, which mimics a bath. Or you can just rub it right into the skin. And you can do that to any living creature. It's just wonderful. It's a wonderful concept, and I've enjoyed sharing it with people and creating it.
I was really interested to learn that I guess we really should be absorbing minerals through our skin. And like when we buy supplements or something, are we not getting what we think we are out of those? Like if we're taking them orally?
So this is a little more complicated than we should be in the first 4 minutes of this podcast, but we're going to go with it since you asked the question. So if you look at a rock, let's take a nice pink rock, and some people are really familiar with, let's say, amethyst. And amethyst has a micronutrient called manganese in it. And manganese is one of the things that we need. It's a trace element. So anyway, if you take any rock, let's say there's a zinc rock called hemimorphite, which there's not going to be a test at the end. No one has to remember these names, except hemimorphite is one of those things that they bake and cook and chemicalize to death to get it into a tablet or a liquid for you to ingest. So what has happened to that? The reason why we need these trace elements, zinc, iron, copper, manganese, is because there's an electro property that the body needs, this certain electricity. It fires things in the body that the body needs. When you bake it, cook it, and turn it into white powder, it loses that electricity. Mm-hmm. So anytime you're altering minerals, you are losing the component of which you need of the mineral, not necessarily, like you may be taking the mineral, but now it's lost its main component. And when we do, like, I don't ingest my powder because I understand how the skin takes it in. But I mean, I guess you could. I mean, you drink mineral water. There's not really a big difference, but I don't do that. And I think that throughout the ages, people have soaked in mineral water, and it just kind of makes sense. That's an easy way to, I think it's one of the things that nature meant for us to do was have minerals in our water, whether it was ingestible or soaking in it at something. So that's a little bit more than you ask, I guess, but that's why. It's not really about the oral part. It's about what that tablet has become.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's making me think of just how we're so conditioned to, like, we just want to take a pill or something, you know, versus like historically there's been these practices of doing like baths or just doing other things other than just taking a pill, you know.
That's right. That's right. We are a society like that. But the truth is that I feel like that I've made it so easy with the aloe that it's about a 4-second routine in the morning to put it on the full body, that I find it hard to find people that complain about it, really, because once they start doing it, they think that was so easy, and it goes right in and starts working. So it's a good thing.
So why the aloe?
Well, that's a good question. So originally we bought mist bottles, which made perfectly good sense to put it into water and mist it. Well, it made really great sense until some of the minerals don't grind up, and so it's clogged the mist, and there was not another water thing. But right when COVID broke out, I was Googling around trying to find some sort of aqueous gel to put the minerals in, and I stumbled upon how to make homemade hand sanitizer, and it was aloe gel and alcohol. And I thought, oh my gosh, aloe gel is the most natural gel out there. Forget the alcohol, forget that. I was like, the aloe gel, the minerals will suspend perfectly, and they do. And people typically are not allergic to the aloe gel. They can get it at their local food place. It's easily available, and that cuts down on the amount of shipping and boxing and that kind of thing. So it makes it a really easy thing to sell to people, the idea of aloe gel. So
does it have to be, because there's so many aloe gel products on the market. And so some of them are, 100% aloe. Some of them are like 99% aloe and 1% something else. Does it have to be a specific type of aloe gel?
No, it's personal. Actually, I tell people this: if you get one that's 100% natural without preservatives, you're going to have to keep your aloe gel in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And you're not going to use it because then it's cold on your body. So that's a give and take. And if you get into a bathtub of tap water, you're going to get chlorine. The minerals are more important than avoiding the chlorine. it's the same thing with the aloe gel. And so it's kind of a personal thing.
Mhm.
Some of them are stickier than others, and some of them have less gel than others. So I kind of leave people I can recommend one that has a little more gel and a little more preservative that will help let you keep yours out on the counter.
Mhm.
But after that, it's kind of a personal thing. And
Yeah.
most of my practitioners that I work with, naturopaths, practitioners, Chinese acupuncturists, they kind of lean on, okay, we'll go with this particular preservative because we need people to use this.
Mm.
So that's one of those, everybody's got their 80-20. That's ours.
Well, I saw that you can diffuse them. How does anyone have experience where the crystals sort of gunk up the diffuser?
No, actually, so the idea came from Germany. That a lot of these little small bath towns mist the water throughout town. And it's really cool. You'll see people just like reading a book, inhaling their minerals. It's really nice. And when we first started doing it, I made diffusing blends with salt because a lot of the waters do have a certain salt component. And I thought that would be nice to enjoy like a seaside experience. But in the end, you just need to put the minerals into water. You don't have to have salt. So I kind of backed away from that, but I do recommend everyone doing it. Like we have some allergy blends that are great diffused. They just bubble away. And what happens is it kind of settles out in the bottom a little bit like a particulate. You can see it in the bottom. But it continues to infuse the water and it just goes up.
Oh, so it can be redone.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
But what I do is I mix it up into a jar and kind of let it, I hate to use the word steep because it's not, it's just sitting there, but kind of mix with the water a little bit. And then you can mix it into a quart jar. And it's just a couple of little tiny scoops of our mineral blends. And you can pick it, which one you want to diffuse that night or day. And for your pets, the pets love the diffuser. They just love it. Yeah.
I'm curious about these towns where they have these baths now because I wasn't really familiar with this. So where are there other places other than Germany and Saratoga Springs? Like how do people find out about this? This is
How
like
long have they been around?
yeah.
Forever, forever. So in ancient times, especially in Europe, these they would have just this water these springs overflow. Some of them are hot, thermal, and some of them are cold, like Saratoga Springs is 55 degrees. So to soak in that, they have to add domestic hot water to make it where you can soak in it. But you read stories about soldiers finding it. There's a story about Wiesbaden, Germany, where during one of the wars, they took the horses and let them soak in it so they would heal. So it's been around for, since Hippocrates talked about healing in the waters. And so in the United States, it's a little, we're so spread out. Europe is not. And Europe has a lot of volcanic areas that lends to thermal baths, Italy, Germany, all these areas, Greece, that have had, if it's kind of volcanic, you typically get thermal water because it's still hot, that kind of thing. Like think of Yellowstone and the geysers. The geysers are technically a thermal bath that you can't touch because it's too hot. Mm-hmm. So some of the water, they cool some of the water in Germany also because it's warm. But there's some near Frankfurt. You can fly into Stuttgart, which is, some people know the word Baden-Baden in Germany. That's where some of the bath towns are. So it's just it's part of their culture. And they do a lot of sauna with this. But my jam is the minerals. So I do like to sauna, don't get me wrong, but it's the minerals are the thing. And I do like to drink them. Sometimes the water's a little salty to drink and you don't really want to do that, but soaking in it's good. So,
yeah. Is there a risk of going overboard?
I feel like that when I've had too much, there is a level of fatigue. And the nice thing about the dogs is that if you start offering it to them and they know that you're doing that, if they feel like they don't need it, they're intuitive enough to walk away. And so when you're dosing your dog, I always give mine a choice. And they wag and wiggle if they like it and pick it and they touch it. And I feel like that's a good thing. You shouldn't force the dogs to take it unless, there's some time, like maybe if they're having a skin issue and don't feel well, that would be the only force time I would do. But I feel like it's a great combination. A lot of us take our dogs to acupuncture. A lot of us work ourselves to death, cooking or fooding or everything that we do. This is a great addition to that multi-prong care of our animals. And I've done it since 2017. And I recently lost our oldest pug, and it was sad, but he was 16 and a half, which is really, really old for a pug because of the breathing issues.
Yeah.
And he ended up, he had a weird heart thing all of a sudden. And so we think it might have been COVID or a virus that hit his heart, but he was in fact very old. He was in great shape, but something, we all have to go from something. But he was my star, knowing what mineral he wanted. He taught me so much about how to let the animals choose. And I think that his extended life is a testament to this. He had back issues, and in 2018, he couldn't walk. And as it turns out, it was probably an injury, which we thought was kind of a degenerative area. And he kept the minerals on his back, and he got, moved around great. He never had an issue after that. But we did have to keep the minerals on him. And he'll be missed, but his hair felt like a puppy when he was 16 and a half. I mean, it was amazing how he felt. And so it's one of those things that I was blessed to have him as long as I did. But we all worked that hard for that reason, actually. Yes.
I understand that. So how do you learn like which minerals help with which conditions? Is that something you had to study? Is that something that's like an ancient knowledge that's been passed down, or how do you learn that?
Well, that's a great question. And it's, of course, I'm going to try to do it as easily as I can. So since forever, humans have used these stones, gems, minerals. They've worn them, they've slept with them, they've kept them in their pockets. And that is a traditional metaphysical folklore. And then in Chinese medicine, there is a different type of learning about the rocks. They are more about how it affects the body systems, the meridians, etc. And that's a facet of this. Then there's the Western study where let's just break down what's in that rock and see what that nutrient does to the body. What does Western science say about it? And how does it react with the body? What does this thing do to the body? So I started doing all of this, of course, during COVID because we had nothing else to do. And it was a great time for me. But I started recognizing how each mineral paralleled either a metaphysical folklore, Chinese and Western, for the same ailment. I'm sorry. And it became so easy to see that everyone comes from it differently, but it's that item that's in there that's helping one thing. For example, what helps collagen? What helps muscles? What helps bones? Well, all the rocks that did that were the same in all three of these disciplines. And it was startling. And so one of the overlaps was the trace element manganese. And manganese is an unsung hero because I actually got a patent in putting manganese, natural manganese, through the skin for people and animals because to emphasize how important it is. And it is the thing that keeps the joints healthy because of collagen. So collagen, we take collagen supplements. We give our animals collagen supplements. They eat raw food to get collagen. All of that has to have an enzyme called prolidase, and prolidase breaks down the collagen but it only works if it is cofactored or fired by manganese. So that goes back to the white tablet. If you have a white tablet of manganese, it's not going to cofactor prolidase, and the collagen's not going to break down, and it just goes out of the system unused every single time. It can also pool in the joints, which is a big problem with people with fibromyalgia. It can do that to any animal where if it's not broken down properly, the body's trying to use it and grabs it and puts it into the joint or into the muscle area, and it just pools and causes pain. So that's one of those things. But that's how I did it, is I just started researching it by mineral that was common, that I found did things to the body, and just figured out which each micronutrient did. And then I studied a lot of Chinese medicine. I'm not an acupuncturist, but I have a vast knowledge of trying to understand what all happens in Chinese medicine, and no one will ever know everything because it's unbelievable. But I love to pull it in to what I do. And I have a lot of really, really smart people that I can ask and help me and guide me when I'm working on a project. And I like that a lot because that helps immensely.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about manganese, I always think about my old dog Kahlua, and she was our CCL tear girl, and she had blown both of them. Now, this was back in my early days of being a dog mom and not knowing what to feed or things like that. And so I often wonder, she was kibble fed up until her last probably 2 years with us when we started feeding raw. And I'm just like, was all of that caused by not having enough source of like manganese and things in kibble?
It could have been. And, I believe there's so many factors that a modern dog owner is learning, the amount of probiotic, the amount of food, the right kind of food. We were taught early on that kibble was great, but we have to recognize too that, like humans, we're not probably getting the amount of trace elements that are natural in anything that we do. We can go and buy everything fresh, and it's not about where it's about probably was never meant to be in the food to that degree. It's not that this is not a discussion on soil being depleted. This is about, in ancient times, they soaked in mineral water, and we should too. And so this is about recognizing that this is another prong in a multi-prong system that is part of the necessity of taking care of ourselves and our animals. And it's great because you can just share everything. You just don't even have to buy two things. You buy one, you rub it on them, you rub it on yourself, and it's all good. And it makes it easy. But I do think that when we look at tears in the past of, AC, all these things that happen, they're weaknesses, and especially large dogs that, tend to gallop and run, it's going to happen. And in little small dogs, they use the stairs like they're, humans, and their bodies are not equipped for that. But I think that to recognize that we can change this outcome is fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you thought that there was any common causes of deficiencies in humans and animals. Like, is it our processed food lifestyle? But, you bring up an interesting point that, going back to ancient times, this was part of what they did to stay healthy. And we're definitely not doing that. We've never even heard of it.
That's right. That's right. Well, and it's funny, just so you do not feel bad, when I go to Saratoga Springs, most of the locals do not go to the baths. And I'm like, what are you doing? You live
You're
here.
right here.
Anyway, so it's funny that you brought that up, because I really do want to talk about the state of these viruses that are so large and are affecting humans and, of course, the dogs too, pets too, and cats, everybody. So before COVID, we all were deficient, and I knew it. And whether it is a pathogen, a toxin, etc., the body reacts the same. So what happens is that, let's say we're rocking along, we feel great, we're eating good food, we have concentrated on good food, we may have been to a mineral bath, and we're really rocking it. When you get into a toxic situation, whether it is a bad food, a virus, anything, the immune system reacts. So there are a couple of things happen. The immune system reacts, and when it does, it needs these micronutrients to work. So it needs iron, it needs zinc, it needs copper, it needs manganese, in a all that. We don't have to go into the science of that, but just understand that it's like fuel for the immune system. So you do that a couple of times, you've eaten bad, you've had a late night out, you have had COVID 2 or 3 times, you've had other things happen, grief, stress, all of those things, Diet Coke, you end up burning up your immune system by not having refueled these electrical parts of the immune system. So the electrical parts, once they're gone, they're gone. And your immune system doesn't work. So what happens? Well, we get sick more often. And in our animals, they have skin immune issues. They have ear issues. They have stomach issues that are unrelated to the gut bacteria. This is about the body not having an electrical property. So it's super important to recognize that, especially today, that we are on an enormous amount of depletion. It's not just the normal depletion, it is gangbuster depletion. And we need to recognize that we have to start putting it back into our system in a normal way. As a wellness professional, I see literally this week, it's only Tuesday, and I've had 12 calls about some sort of bizarre rash, whether it's, oh, I've gotten into poison ivy, oh, I've had flea bites and they're exploding. Everyone's skin immune system is so depleted that it's causing these issues. And it's the same. If you sit in a veterinarian's office, within 15 minutes, you see 4 dogs walk in with it. And they're in pain, they're itching, it's really hard. So that's one of the things that is happening right now. So
I just have to tell you, I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
That's
My
okay.
mom has poison ivy right now. And I
See?
saw my friend Kate yesterday, and she said, I'm
Oh my
concerned the
God.
dogs might have fleas because she has a bunch of cluster of weird red welts on her stomach. And she's like, I don't know where these came from. The dogs seem fine. I don't know why they're on me. So I just did the last 2 days. I've seen that too.
And look, so, and right before we got on, right before the mic didn't work, I had another email from a practitioner saying her skin's exploded. So what I think's happened is, in the course of the last 4 years, our skin immune system is now shot. And it's the window. So it's your inside immune system's really shot. But what's happening is we're just now seeing it externally. And that's why I encourage I have a couple products for the immune system and for itching, because itching is really about the skin immune system. But it's exploding in our nation like I've never seen before. It's crazy. And I think, we're outdoors, so we touch a vine, and it doesn't have to be poison ivy. And it's happened to my husband. I've had to knock it back 2 or 3 times. So it's weird. It's not.
My husband had poison ivy too recently, within the last month.
And oh, I didn't remember getting into it.
I'm glad you're fine.
You're the only one. You're the only, Kimberly, you're the only one. You're the only one.
I feel so good. I'm going to celebrate that today.
You should. You and I are the only ones. But anyway, so that's a huge thing. And that's just an example. But I do think that if the skin is doing this, unfortunately, the inside is not good. And we're going to start seeing things that we don't want to see, whether it's heart issues or cancers, that kind of thing, that are not as easy to turn around. But if we can put it through the skin and heal the immune system, the body will work. The body's a brilliant thing. If you give it the right tools, we are like a blender sitting on the counter unplugged. Mm-hmm. And like people say, oh, the blender doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, all you got to do is plug it into the electricity and it will start working. And that's kind of the way I feel about this whole project that I'm on.
You know, when it comes to our diet, and, you know, and not just dogs, but, you know, humans too, we eat so much processed food. It's kind of scary what we put into our mouths without giving it much thought. So we're not really fueling our body accordingly. So, you know, one thing that I've noticed is I started eating healthier. I started cooking my own food. I started doing a real intermittent fasting diet. And the way I feel just so much better after just a couple of weeks of doing this is astounding to me because, and now when I go into the store, I mean, it takes for freaking ever to grocery shop.
Oh,
because, you know, if it comes in a bottle or, I mean, in a box, I have to read the ingredients. And even if it comes in a bag, I mean, a lot of stuff, I was trying to buy something. Oh, I was trying to buy freeze-dried cranberries and I couldn't find any that didn't have seed oil. And I'm just sort of like, but it's freeze-dried. You don't need any of this extra, you know, extra sugar and extra oil. It's just like, but it's, and this is like in the so-called healthy aisle of the store. But, you know, me before I started really paying attention to my food, and I only started doing that because I pay such good attention to my dog's food. If it were in the healthy aisle and it said it was organic or said it was all natural, I just took it at its word. I mean, I was no better than people who only read the title of an article and then make a complete opinion and, you know, and start spreading misinformation without thinking about it. And I feel like as a human species, many of us are so sick because we have decades of just a bad diet.
Right.
You know, not to mention the environmental factors that, you know, are put towards us, even things that we're putting on ourselves. I mean, it's just like so many things that I've done for years, like perfume. What's in that bottle? What am I applying to my skin? The biggest organ on my body.
That's right.
And I'm putting this on my skin. And, or, you know, for years I got chemical relaxers to straighten my hair. That's like right on top of my brain.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's just like, we do these things and wonder why we get so sick one day.
Well, it's interesting because I work with a lot of neurodegenerative patients, whether it's Parkinson's and all these things that are happening to people. And I've seen just topical minerals turn it around. And they are already feeling better from what they're doing. They're kickboxing, they're eating better. But when you plug in the minerals in addition to what you're talking about, it's like explosive because your body has to have good food. No matter, I mean, it's not just about the minerals. It's about good food. It has to have collagen and the good oils and the good fats and all these things that we ignore. And of course, I grew up on corn oil butter. I'm the same.
Well,
we all did. I mean, we didn't know.
Well, what is it? The pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry is now telling us, or has been telling us, all of these things that are natural and healthy for us are bad and dangerous, and telling us, no, you need the canola oil. You need, you know, you need this fake butter. You know, this is all that other
crack. That was my mom's.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. You don't need good bacon fat or olive oil because it's fattening. Don't eat avocado.
When I was a kid, there was the Crisco jar when it was empty and it was filled up with bacon fat. That's what you use to cook. And it's like, then there was a period of time where it's like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. And it's just like, oh, and you know, now I'm finding out that Crisco is terrible.
Exactly. Like whatever came out of that's right.
It's like, we don't know what that is.
That's right. Well, I do feel like that, for example, I've started doing a little fermentation of condiments for us because I don't particularly like kimchi and I understand that it's great I don't really even like drinking kombucha, but I've been fermenting like black beans, onions, and shredded beets for the dogs and for us. And just that little addition has changed our internal system, because we can enjoy it and not think, oh, because some of it I don't like. But the ones I make, I do. And so just these little additions make huge differences in the way the body can get rid of the toxins and heal from what we've done for years. But I do feel like that to understand what I do is another facet that's exciting and easy, and it can cut down on people just, I've got to drink so much green juice. And you know what? You don't really have to do that. You need to drink what you want and then put the minerals into your body through the skin, and it is so much easier. And it's obtainable. It's an obtainable goal. It's just like you're talking about, it takes so long to go to the grocery store. Everything needs to be obtainable, or you're not going to do it. You're just going to go off the wagon and pull through the Burger King. And so you got to that's why I work so hard on trying to make it easy instead of, oh, this is so hard. And people don't do it if it's hard. And I'll say, look, do you take a bath? And people say, yeah. I said, great. You take a bath. People say, I don't take a bath. Oh, perfect. Use the aloe. And we move on down the road. And then, if someone has a joint issue, they just use the joint powder on the joint issue, which is also really easy. It doesn't smell. There's no essential oil. There's no grease at all. You just rub it right in, and it makes it pretty easy. And it's fun talking to you all, because I feel like there are some wellness people that want to make everything perfect, and it becomes unobtainable. And I like the fact that we're talking about what can we do that is easy enough in a modern lifestyle to make this happen. And it's the food and the minerals, and cut it back on the processed food.
Yeah. Well, and when it comes to your products, is it something that you use as you need it, or do you have to use it on, stick with it on a regular schedule?
Well, I feel like that because we're all exposed to these viruses 24/7, you can't go to the grocery store without getting exposed. Every exposure, you're burning a little bit up. I feel like that using a full body in a bath 4 days a week, 3 days a week is obtainable for those that like to bathe. If you do not like to bathe, you should probably use the aloe full body 3 to 5 times a week. And then once your body is accustomed to it and saturated, it then becomes maintenance. And yes, you should be using it often, but it's not obsessive, like when you're trying to heal versus a maintenance program.
Yeah.
And usually on my website, I try to differentiate that, like, you're sick. This is what you do. This is maintenance. But I do think once someone feels better, like food, you tend to want to do more good food. And once you feel great, it becomes habit and not drudgery. So it's a little bit like that. I think people can become accustomed to using it and stick with it.
One of my questions is about water. So where I live, we have, like city water. And so for the last several years, we have been using a reverse osmosis filter. And then they tell you to add the trace minerals in this little jar. Is that really doing anything?
Well, this is the problem with overstripping water. If you drink, and that means that overstripping, distill, all these things. If you drink it or soak in it, water wants to be mineralized. It will take it from your body. So what they're trying to tell you is you're doing all this to the water, and it's going to take it from you. So beware. And it has made a lot of people sick drinking water that is overstripped, because they drink it and it takes their minerals out of their bones, out of their teeth. And that's what that's about. So there are a lot of expensive filtration systems. I use a Berkey. I do soak in the bath water here, and I know there's chlorine in it and other things. But one thing about the body is if it's highly mineralized and healthy, it will clean those toxins out. It's just what it does. And so a lot of our pet clients, their parents note that the smells that come out of their animals when they first start doing the minerals is really bad. And I think that it works. The body will detoxify itself. It's like when you add a nice fermented food in, your intestines clean themselves. If you add minerals into the system, they will clean themselves. And I know that you're going to do your people have filtration systems, but that means you really need to be mineralizing your body even more.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of practitioners, and I don't preach about it because it's not my jam, but there are a lot of practitioners that really are against over filtrated water because of that, because it does harm. It can just harm the body. If you're already sick and you're doing it to get well, it's making you sicker.
Yeah, like I've heard of these crazy expensive filters, and it's like, well, that's not doable. So like I'm always like, which is, do you just take the city water or do
Right?
like now I'm like, I don't know which is worse. Like am I trying to do something and trying to do something good? Am I making it worse?
Well, but I mean, you can start using the minerals and you can do that. And I feel like that it's I don't know what all's in water anymore. None of us do, right? We hear all these horrible stories. And so just do what you do and try to, if you can get yourself healthy, your body will, whatever it is, get rid of it. Should anyway.
Yeah.
That's the way it's designed.
So I saw that you also do the HTMA hair tissue mineral analysis. So for both people and for pets, is that right?
No, just pets right now.
Oh, just pets. Okay.
Right. I'm pretty new at that. I feel like that it's a necessary for baseline especially if something's not right. We started doing testing and we're doing 3-month windows with different types of animals to show the mineralization that's happened in the interim. But one thing that I have enjoyed learning about is what other people say about the minerals. Like, I read other people's reports, and some people that have started testing their animals send me reports of things that I think, where is this? And so there's some interesting things that happen. And I think to get a baseline of the necessary trace elements and discern what your animal needs and why, and there might be some unusual activity like some heavy metals or unusual sodium or potassium in there, and to take a look at all of that. And but that's all these do, and they're a great tool, fairly inexpensive to look at. And because hair grows slowly, like a blood test is a snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
But the hair test is a 3-month or life event, like as long as the hair is. So when we retest, we can see what has improved over a course of time. And I really like that. I feel like that it shows improvement. It makes everyone feel like they're actually seeing results and good results. And I think that it's a good testing. And we do sell them. I like to work with people afterwards on kind of a specialized treatment, or we can just do some sort of, easy one size fits all. But I think that it's shocking what's out there and what's not out there. And we had one lady who was buying food, not raw food, but one of the higher end diet foods, and the minerals were very low. And she said, why are the minerals so low? I felt like that the food would have done it. And I said, well, it may have, but you've had COVID twice, and we don't know if the food is enough to substantiate after that. Like, it's just not giving them enough, but it's making them feel better. So that's one of the things that I think is important to recognize, is that it shows where and what your animal has burned out of his system. And that's important. It's really important.
Do you have you done enough to like see any trends of like, are there common things that are always low or always missing or anything like that?
Well, if someone has had COVID 2-3 times, which I would think probably everyone has, if not more, we're seeing zero manganese, very low zinc, very low copper, and very low iron, which are the things that run that whole system.
They're all pretty
And
important. Yeah.
yeah, all very important. So a couple of unknowns are like chromium, strontium, all have to do with bone and nerve tissue. I think those are very important in the system. I think that the trend is that I haven't seen a dog other than mine that I was happy with, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
And the only reason I know mine is because mine have been doing it. I've got 2 that have been doing it since the day they came to live with us at 4 months old. And so I've got the other ones, we pretty much mineralized them, and they were a little bit off the chart and healthy. So, but this is the thing, is that when I talk about this, it doesn't mean I don't think that the food is good. It means that our food, no matter how hard you try, is never going to fulfill those needs. And there's no way that this other, cooking for them, raw food diet, all of that is amazing, but it's still, there's this missing link over here that we need to recognize, is the where.
Can you share some examples of health issues that have improved with your products?
Yes, I can. And I love that. So, skin. So are we talking about animals or people or both? Let's do skin.
Oh.
Let's just do skin.
Okay. All
So
right.
the skin, as I learned about the skin having its own immune system, you can, with this, really heal everything. So if you have let's say, yeasty or fungusy situation, you can kill the fungus, but the immune system's bad, the fungus is going to come back.
Mm.
You have to build the immune system up. So that's one thing. And that's like a lot of us and dogs and everything, because it's exploding right now. But that's a good one. If I have had some dogs with myelonopathy that we have greatly improved, energetically, and helped some of the other symptoms of strengthening, etc. I've learned a lot since I've had a myelonopathy case about it. More neurodegenerative things, getting this into the brain, the nervous system helps that for a lot of reasons. The idea that you've had brain fog is horrible after one of these things, or just life in general. We are really good at brain fog, memory, etc. We can make the whole body stronger, whether it's a joint or the lungs, targeting things that are there post-illness, long viral issues. We turn around like that. You start building the immune system and giving this electricity back into the body. Long issues start going away, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. If the patient sticks with it and builds slowly, you're not going to be well in a day. You didn't get there in a day. But it's the same thing with joints in dogs and animals and backs. You just stay with it and it will turn around. And the elements are the building blocks of the earth and the body. And we just need to get them into our system. And until now, there's not really been a great way. I mean, like me traveling to hot springs all over the place is just not sustainable for anyone. Even if you had $1 bazillion to do it, the time spent is not even feasible. So I think that to recognize that the root of disease is not having proper things, and to put it back in makes the disease go away.
So some of the formulas that you had for dogs were surprising to me, that there would be a connection with minerals, like the anxiety and the fleas was very interesting to me. You have like a no fleas formula.
Right. So anxiety, there is a direct connection with the minerals in anxiety. For example,
For people too?
for people too.
Okay.
It started
I'm
off
writing that down.
right. So the thing is that these things are in the nervous system. Anxiety is about having a learned problem with the nervous system, because the nervous system shows you, like whether it's the vagus nerve or the spine, that fear. Well, if your nervous system is overreacting, you can create fear from your nervous system and not control it. So when you start controlling the nervous system, you can emotionally calm down and know you're going to be okay. And I think whether it's firecrackers or fireworks or storms, or in us, the fear of walking outside at night. I mean, there are things that we are truly scared of, and it becomes a problem as your body depletes because it overreacts. So the vagus nerve overreacts or underreacts, and it's like PTSD is the same thing. It's in the vagus nerve. So if you heal the nerve with the micronutrients, then you say, okay, let me heal my nerve. I'm not overreacting. You know what? I'm going to be okay. And so a lot of animals, and all of us have healed that way, because we are our body is a nerve. That's it. And so if it's not reacting properly, that's what happens. The fleas thing is a little bit different. So in the Baltics, they have used amber forever for anti-pest control, fleas, mosquitoes, whatever. So we copied them. So, there's all these amber collars.
Yeah.
My dogs chewed them off. So I made one, and I added amethyst, because amethyst has a nice vibration to it that actually helps the propel and also heal. So where you put it is on the back of the neck. And so there's a lot of healing properties in amber, aside from the flea deterrent, and amethyst also. And so that's a great product also. But it's a repellent. It's not, if you get a flea or two, I mean, it's not going to kill the flea. It just repels it. So I'm cautious to tell people, but if you're doing other natural things, it is fantastic to use.
And are there any side effects to any of these products?
I think you can overuse them, yes. And you can overuse anything. It's like gorging yourself on too much kale. You're going to have a side effect, right? I mean, it's good for you. It's great for you. But if you overeat it, it's going to be something. So you kind of have to follow the guidelines and enjoy the fact that you can be loose with it, but within a guideline. I mean, it's not a prescription. There's no like, oh, you can only use a tablespoon or whatever. It's really gentle, and you can underuse it and then build up.
Right.
And find your space with it.
And I ordered the Good Juju because I just love the idea of it. Is that something that I can diffuse with my dogs in the room?
Absolutely. So I find that the dogs, there's 3 things that I think that they love. Well, there's maybe 4. So they like the allergy products, whether it's allergy or chronic allergy or transform. And those are good to diffuse. I also find that they like immunology diffused.
Okay.
So that's a good one. And I think you'll find them, if they kind of go into a different room, they're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
If they kind of nestle into where it is, it's their thing. Yeah. So you can kind of follow that way. But for the most part, I think that's pretty easy.
Yeah. Because I'm a diffusing queen. I love to diffuse things.
Oh my
Are
gosh,
you kidding me?
Kimberly.
I'm in my, this is my, what do we call it? We have a her hovel. That's my friend named it. It's since I don't have a man cave, and I feel like she sheds are supposed to be outside. So we named this my her hovel, and this is my space. You know, Johan's not
Perfect.
allowed to come in here. This is my space. And so I'm going to turn my camera around so you can see, let's see, those 3 brown wood
Right.
things. That's essential oils.
Oh my
That
word.
a ridiculous amount of essential oils.
That is.
And sadly, that is not all of my essential oils because those are my essential oils. And then my dogs have their essential oils, which are the Animalia oils. And so I'm constantly, just so I can get through these oils, because I went a little crazy. And I have to diffuse every day. And I have a diffuser in 3 main rooms of our downstairs area. And I'm just like, drip. I love it. I've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So my question with that in mind is, can I mix this with an essential oil?
Yes, you can. And, I burned myself out on essential oils early on. And I think it was because I was seeking minerals and tried everything and I overused them. But yeah, a little drop here and there. I mean, whatever you want to put in there. But if you're doing, let's just say your space is filled with a lavender blend and you love that, but your puppy's having some allergy issues, drop some allergy or transform into the water, but you'll need to blend the water before.
Yeah.
And put it in, then add your oils, however you do. Because there's a recipe online, so you want to do that, not just into the diffuser together.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
And also, I don't do this around electronics, but I like sea salt. And if you don't overuse it, a little bit of sea salt in your diffuser can help your sinuses and stuff.
Okay.
But if you're diffusing 24/7, you don't need to add sea salt. If you're just doing it a little bit, because it's going to show somewhere. It is salt. So, but I do like that. I'm not telling anyone to do that, and I am throwing some caution out there, but a little bit's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been amazing. I'm so excited to try these out. Like I said, ever since we adopted Nessie, right at the end of 2023, she came to us with kind of red in between her toes. And she also does not like having her feet or her toes touched at all, ever, which has made nail trims nearly impossible. And now she has developed an ear infection. And it is a mix of yeast and bacteria. And she really doesn't like having her ears touched, which has made the last week or so very exciting and not always good way when we've had to put these drops in her ear.
So will she let you touch her neck?
Yes, usually, unless you have something in your hand.
Well, if you rub the aloe online, everywhere says aloe is bad for dogs. And if that were the case, I would not have dogs because mine get a lot of aloe. But
I've never heard that.
That is a personal choice. I just want to disclose it, that if you don't decide not to use aloe because the Google doctor says don't use it, I understand. But I use aloe with my dogs, and I put like a quarter size of mixed aloe of Immunology into my palms and rub them together, and I get it along their eustachian tubes. And yes, my dogs swim in the lake. They have stinky ears. Sometimes you just can't avoid it, but we'd never have full throttle ear infections. And we should. We're pugs. We're pug people. So that's a good one. But we have Immunology, and also itch going into the eustachian tube can help. It's not going to cure an infection, but once you get the infection knocked back, it's about the immune system. Yeah. And you can also just put the powder. There's a little scoop that comes with everything. Drizzle the powder into that area just as easily as using the aloe. It matters not. As long as you can get it close to the skin will take it in.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to add this into the mix. And we're working on our cooperative care, which is a new term for me, to allow her to be handled, because we have never had a dog that was this reactive, with any kind of like handling before.
So we have one of those. Our youngest is like that, and it's a battle with the nails, and I haven't fixed it yet, so don't ask me how to fix that. Except for like the treat, one nail, treat, one nail.
That's what I do.
Yeah. I mean, but I think too, we all have to recognize that we all have individual personalities just like they do. You're not going to fix everything. You're not going to make them you're not going to make them perfect, but to keep them healthy, and, clipping their nails makes them healthy, but them not screaming doesn't matter. It's just part of it. Well, I was going to offer everyone, if anyone's listening, I would love to offer a discount for a first purchase. Is that okay?
Wonderful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have a easy code. It's capital or uppercase OHM 15.
Okay.
And that will get you a 15% off discount, and you're welcome to use it. I feel like that if you've taken the time to listen to all of this, you deserve a discount.
Oh my gosh, we thank you so much. We'll have a link for everybody in the show notes so that they can go right to your website and use that discount code. And this has just been fascinating. I've loved learning about this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you having me and giving me the time. And I hope I didn't get too scientific, but in the blog section is a lot about what I talked about. If someone's having a particular thing, they know that they've been sick, whatever, they can go and search on the website and find a blog post about most everything that I've talked about. There is a way to get in touch with me through the website. Just contact if you want to have a consultation with you or your puppy. We do those also. And we do it right now. We're doing where if you do a consult, you get it back in product. So it's win-win. So that way people can pick the right thing for themselves. And that's kind of my passion in themselves and then understand it. So anyway, I thank y'all both so much. This has been amazing.
Thanks, Ruth.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.